So hello and welcome everyone to this part 2 of a very important session series on the topic of critical thinking. My name is Shireen Hirani and I'm serving UCA as a TKN management consultant. And along with me, I have the speaker for this 3-part session series, Sahib Karim Khan. For those of you who missed the part 1 last week, we had sent the recording of the session in the announcement that was sent about this session series. So do watch the recording. Sahib is an internationally renowned speaker. He is a learning and organizational development trainer and expert. He's the CEO of a company called TPE Consultants. He's an author, a certified Six Sigma professional. And we had the pleasure of learning from Sahib last week on some really key ideas. For example, he talked about developing new synapses and how to come out of your comfort zone, how to apply a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset on different areas of our life, whether it be our personal life, our student life, or our professional life. He also spoke about the 5 steps of critical thinking, and then we concluded with the Sahib giving us an assignment on doing a SWOT analysis of our own thinking patterns. So I'm sure, Sahib, you're going to go into a recap of last week's session, and then you're going to proceed into sharing some more interesting and insightful ideas. So without further ado, go ahead, and I'm going to share presentation.
Thank you very much, Shireen. First of all, I would like to welcome you all in the second session, and I would like to thank University of Central Asia for arranging this this engagement with all of you on this very important topic, which is critical thinking. So let's go to the next slide very quickly. My name is Sahib Karim Khan. I'm a management consultant and trainer by profession, and those of you who are joining us today for the first time, a brief introduction. I've been working in the learning and OD fraternity for the last 18 years. Academically, I have an MBA in Human Resource Management from Pakistan and a second master's in adult learning and development from Ireland. I've also done an executive certification in leadership and strategy from University of Cambridge, UK. During the COVID times, I also got the opportunity to write a leadership book titled Leading in a Quantum World, which sort of amalgamates leadership and quantum physics together. So the book is available all on Amazon for our global audiences. With you guys, this is the second session. Those of you who have missed the first session, they could join. They could go to the link that was shared earlier and see the first lecture. Those of you who are joining us again, so welcome back, and let's get going. Let's go to the next one, please. All right, so very quickly, what is our learning agenda? This entire learning sessions that we are running with you, 3-part, we are covering 2 modules in them. First module, we are talking about developing thinking synapses. We talked about in the last session about the foundation of thinking. How do we think? How can we develop growth mindset? And then 5 steps of critical thinking. In the second module, we'll be talking about different tools that you can use to be more critical at work, to think critically and to enhance your productivity. So we'll be talking about the 6 dimensions of thinking. We'll be talking about the 6 thinking hats that is going to help us think more critically. Then we'll be talking about some of the DMAC tools. And then we will also be touching a little bit on design thinking essentials. So these are going to be the things that we'll be covering in today and next week's session. So very quickly, let's go to the next slide. All right. So those of you who are joining us again this week, they know that I am very much interested in hearing from you and your two-way interactive communication via the chat box. So very quickly, I would like to know from you, what did we discuss last time? In the chat box, maybe share one or two key learning that you had from that session in the chat box, please. Let's see, what did you learn during session 1? Okay. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, let me tell you that chat box is our way to see if you guys are understanding it, if you are enjoying it, if you have any questions, and any feedback. So chat box, please do share in the chat box. So first thing first, what did you learn in the first session? All right, so comfort zone, the growth mindset, expanding the comfort zone, okay. Watching your thoughts, all right, very good. What about the rest? We have around 35 people here with us. Let's hear from all of you. Okay, how our thinking influences our destiny? Okay, very good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what were your key learnings from the last session? Your responses are going to tell us if you were with us the last time, and what did you learn? Okay, mindset, ask questions, 5 steps of thinking, all right? Very interesting. Okay, Socrates technique, okay, very good. All right, okay, perfect. Thank you very much, all of you. So very quickly, let's do the recap of what did we discuss in the first session so that we go into the second one. So we started with understanding what did we discussed in the first session. If you could go to the last slide, please, Shireen. All right. So we talked about starting with the comfort zone. So we talked about how do we need to expand our comfort zone continuously in order to grow. Then we talked about Albert Einstein and how he defines the difference between an intelligent fool and a courageous genius. Then we talked about how our thoughts shape our destiny. Then we talked about that thinking is all about questioning. So if we want to build critical thinking in ourselves as a skill, then we need to ask questions. That was the key message. Let's go to the next slide. And as far as thinking is concerned, we talked about Plato, we talked about Albert Einstein, as well as Socrates. And what are their thoughts on the importance of questioning? Then we saw a little video on the Socrates way of thinking. Then we shared these steps with you on how Socrates look at critical thinking and what are some of these steps. And we'll be coming back to these steps today as well, because that is very critical, that is very important. Then we talked about how can we manage our thoughts. We talked about 2 mindsets, the fixed versus the growth mindset. And how do we identify if we have a growth or a fixed mindset? We talked about that. And last but not the least, we requested you to do your thinking SWOT, your SWOT analysis, which is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So very quickly, let's go to the next slide. And those of us who were with us in the last session, may I request you to take a minute or two and share your personal thinking SWOT analysis with us in the chat box. What were some of the strengths that you came up with? What are some of the weaknesses? What are some of the opportunities? And what are some of the threats? So in the chat box, those of us who joined us in the last session as well, please share your SWOT analysis. You can share in the chat box now, please. If you could kindly share, those of you who were present in the last session and did do your SWOT analysis, please share in the chat box with your response, either yes or no. If you did do it, please do share with us. If you were unable to do it, please again share in the chat box so that we move forward accordingly. All right, so we have got one response. Strengths is flexibility, adaptability. All right. Okay. Strengths, forgiveness, flexible, weaknesses, more thinking. Okay. So Rashid, if I got you correctly, what you are trying to say is that as far as the weakness is concerned, you believe that you need to think more. You would like to think more. You're not thinking more at this point in time. Is that correct? All right, another response, weakness, lack of discipline, cyclic thinking, overthinking. Okay, very good. Interesting. So lack of discipline, when you say, Ulan, you mean that lack of discipline as far as thinking is concerned, correct? Perfect. Okay, so Rashid says that actually I am thinking more for everything. Okay, so overthinking is the weakness. All right. Then we have another response: strengths, curiosity, weakness, not stress resistant. Okay, opportunities, embracing new knowledge. All right. So Akobir, if I got you correctly, you are trying to say that your curiosity, which is again connected with questioning, is your strength, while the weakness or the area of improvement is you are unable to manage the stress. Okay, so if we connect that with the thinking pattern, at times you believe that the thinking process gets overload and you are unable to manage that kind of stress, if I got you correctly. Okay, so we have some opportunities here. Opportunities, challenging problems as opportunity for growth, seeking for new adventurous way of enhancing personal thinking. Okay, Ulan, very good. I like it. Interesting, interesting. Anyone else who would like to share here? We'll give you one more minute, and then we will go to the next one. All right, I think we should move forward to the next one. Very good. So let's talk about the different steps of critical thinking, and we'll look at it one by one. And while we are looking at it, I would like you to think about the Socrates way of thinking and see if you see any similarities between these steps. So this is basically DMAIC cycle, DMAIC. DMAIC stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This is one of the methodologies which is used in Six Sigma. However, we are using the DMAIC model to help us develop critical thinking. So let's see what does this mean. So let me give you one example so that we are able to understand the DMAIC process in a better organized way. So DMAIC is a tool that can be used anywhere in your life, be it any personal thing or professional thing. The idea is that whenever you want to think critically, you need to understand that how can we think in an organized manner. So where should we start with? What comes next? How do we question? So this gives us a framework. So let's start with the first one, define. If you could have 5 enter keys, please, Shireen. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So the first step is defining. Whenever we are thinking about any project, any discussion, any idea, the first and foremost thing is to define what exactly we want to achieve in our life. To give you a very simple example, let's say I want to lose some weight. Okay, very simple example from our lives. I want to lose some weight. So now I want to think critically about it, and I want to implement the DMAIC model into it. So the first step would be to define the goal. What is my goal? What do I want to achieve? So for example, I would say that I would like to be healthier, or I would like to, for example, shed 5 kilograms of weight, or whatever that goal or objective is. So the first and foremost step is to define what do I want to achieve, which is my goal. So that is the define part. Once we have defined the goal, then we need to measure it. When we say measure, we are quantifying what is the current situation at this point in time. How much do I weigh right now? So for example, I weigh 100 kgs at this particular time. So in the measure phase, in the measure step, the second step, what I'm going to do is I will stand on a weighing scale and see how much do I weigh right now. So the measure phase is all about understanding. It's all about measuring. It's all about thinking where we are at this particular time. So we have defined what is our goal. We have measured where are we standing right now and where we want to go. So for example, from 100 kgs, I want to go to, say, for example, 80 kgs. I want to shed 20 kilos. Then comes the next phase, which we call the analyze phase. So in the analyze phase, what I'm supposed to do is to identify the root causes of the problem. So if my weight is 100 kgs and I want to reduce it to 80 kgs, analyze phase, I'll be thinking, I'll be asking questions from my own self as to why is my weight 100 kg. So I am going to ask questions. Okay, so what is my lifestyle like? What do I eat? How much do I eat? What is my sugar intake? What is my carbohydrates intake? How much water I am consuming? What kind of sleeping pattern I have at this particular time? So you see these different questions. The reason why I'm asking these questions, because they help me to analyze the situation as to why I am where I am today. So if I am 20 kilograms overweight, why is that so? What are the reasons? What is the root cause? Maybe I am consuming too much sugar. Maybe my sleeping pattern is not correct. Maybe I'm taking a lot of carbohydrates. Maybe I'm not taking the right kind of proteins that I need to consume. So in analyze phase, we are trying to identify the root cause. So we have defined what we want to achieve. We have measured where are we standing right now. In analyze phase, we have analyzed why are we where we are at this particular time. Then we go to the next phase, which is called the improve phase. In this particular step, we are thinking about how can we improve. Now we are talking about solution. Before this, we were just identifying the problem, identifying the severity of the problem. Now we are talking about solutions. So how can I improve this? What are some of the things that I can do? Again, I'll be thinking and I'll be asking questions. Okay, so in analyze phase, for example, I have identified that, for example, I am taking a lot of sugar in my diet. And that seems to be a root cause of me getting overweight. Number one. Number two, maybe I realize that, I'm not exercising. Number three, maybe I identified that my sleeping pattern is not organized, not structured. Now in the improve phase, we will be talking about the solutions as to how we can improve on this. Okay, what can I do about my sugar intake? Can I completely stop taking sugar? Can I, maybe if I'm unable to stop it completely, maybe I can reduce the consumption. What can I do about my sleeping pattern? What can I do about my healthy eating habits? So in improve phase, we are talking about solutions. Again, we are asking questions and the solutions would pop up itself. Critical thinking is all about asking the right questions. You will get the answers, but you need to ask the right questions. Once we have improved, once we have identified what are some of these steps that need to be taken in order for me to reduce my weight, we will be talking about the last step, which is called the control phase. In the control phase, we will be talking about the steps that are going to help me continue working on the plan that I have decided. So for example, in the improve phase, I identified that my sugar intake is high and a lot of it is coming from the beverages that I consume every single day. So for example, I am taking Coca-Cola thrice a day, for example. And I identified that, this needs to reduce from 3 glasses a day. I will initially reduce it to 1 glass a day. And then after, say, for example, 2 months, I will completely stop consuming these beverages. So now in the control phase, I will identify the things which are going to help me achieve this on a regular basis. How am I going to make sure that whatever I have committed to, I stick with it? So this is the last step. And as we go forward, hopefully in the next session, we will be also sharing with you tools for each of these steps. So what are some of the tools that you can use to define your problem statement? What are some of the tools that you can use to measure where are you standing at this point in time? What are some of the tools to analyzing a problem? How can, which tools help you improve on the solutions? And what are some of the tools that you can use to control the overall process? We'll be talking about the tools later on, but just to give you a snapshot of what we are discussing here. So very quickly, very quick recap. The first step is defining the problem. The second step is measuring where are we standing at this point in time. The third step is analyzing why we are here at this particular time. The fourth step, improve, is talking about the solutions that are going to help us achieve our goal. And the last step, 5, control, is going to help us define a strategy, define a method that we stick with this. So last part is very important. A lot of you might have joined gym in your life, but were you able to do it continuously, or you left it after a couple of months? It's all about the control phase. It is very easy to start a process, but it is difficult to keep on doing it. And that is where the control phase comes in. As we go forward, you will see the tools in more detail. So far, are we good with the 5 steps of critical thinking, the DMAC points? Please do share in the comment box, yes, no, or if you have any questions. Okay, the layer says that it reminds me of project cycle management. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So see, critical thinking is all about asking the right questions. And there are tons of tools available that you can use. People who are into project management, they must have used DMAC in one way or the other way. And the idea is that it helps you structure things. And when things are structured, you are able to think more clearly. So you are absolutely right. It is somewhat similar to the tools that you use during project management. Let's hear from all of you. Yes, no. If you have any questions, please do ask. If you have understood it, please write yes in the chat box. If there are any confusions, please write no, and we will be discussing that as well. Let's hear from all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, chat box is the only way through which I would know that you are with us. You are understanding it. You do not have any questions. So please use it generously. All right, perfect. So a lot of yeses here, so which means that we can go to the next part. Okay, let's go forward from here, please. All right, so now if you have understood it correctly, here is a test for you. Can we have a few enters, please? Okay, one more, please. Okay, so this is what I would request you to do. Very simple task. I would request you to critically think about an element or a process in your workplace that you believe could use DMAC to improve the outcomes. So think about it. We have written 10 minutes, but I'll give you 5 minutes because I'm sure you guys are great people and you'll be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you 5 minutes, and I would like you to think about one element or a process related to the work that you are doing, and think if the DMAC model can be used there. Yes or no, think about it and share with us in the chat box after 5 minutes. So we will give you about 5 minutes. Think about it. What is that one element or process from your work where you could use DMAC model? So for example, you are working in HR. And you say that, okay, I have thought about the steps, and I think as far as our hiring process is concerned, we could use the DMAC model to improve the efficiency. Okay, very good. So what will I be doing in the define phase? Okay, define phase, I'll be talking about this. Measure phase, I'll be understanding where are we standing at this point in time. In analyze phase, we'll be talking about what are the challenges that we are facing. In the improve phase, we'll be talking about some of the potential solutions. And in the control phase, we'll be talking about how we can make sure that we stay on course throughout the process. So I just gave you one example. I would like you to think about it and share your answers after 5 minutes. So 5 minutes, do this on a piece of paper and then share it on in the chat box. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat box. So 5 minutes, let's go. Those of you who are done, I would request them to share their example in the chat box, so all of us are able to see what is one of those processes or element that you believe could be improved in your department using the DMAC model. This is very important because we'll be coming back to this again, so it is important that we work on it. I would like to keep it two-way. I ideally wouldn't want it to be like a monologue where I just speak and you listen. It would be ideal when we combine, when we work on it together and use those tools in our life. So no matter if it is not correct, if it is not, you do not have the right words, that is fine. Because the idea is that we start thinking about using these tools in our professional lives. So I would love to hear from you, please. All right, so we have a question here from Daler. Could you please tell us a bit more about the control step? All right, so Daler, the idea behind control step is to think about what could be some of the solutions that will make us stick with the plan. So let me again give you an example. During my DMAC process, for example, the example that I gave about reducing my weight. So in the improvement phase, for example, I decided that I will go to gym thrice every week. I will reduce my sugar consumption from 3 glasses of cold drink every day to 1 glass. So that is decided in the improvement phase. Control phase is all about asking, how will I make sure that I go to gym every 3 days in a week? What are some of the things that will make sure that I'll stick with my plan? What are some of the rules that I will make that will make sure that I will stick with reducing my sugar consumption? So let me give you example of control phase. So for example, I decided that I will go to gym thrice every week. That is decided, but how will I make sure that I do it every 3 days as I promised? So one of the elements that I can use in control phase is that I will connect with 3 of my friends and we will do the gym together. And we will make sure that we encourage each other to go to gym at least 3 times a week. So by doing this, so for example, I'm feeling lazy today. I do not want to go to gym today. If I'm doing it alone, I'll probably not go to gym today. But if I have 3 other friends with me, they will encourage me, that they will give me a call. We have to go to gym today. So that is a control phase. Similarly, another example could be as far as the sugar consumption is concerned. I will announce in my family, in my home, that from today onwards, there will be no cold drinks allowed in the house. So which means that next time if I bring cold drink in the house, my wife would tell me that, listen, you cannot bring cold drink in this house. This is not allowed. My child, for example, would say that we have a rule, you cannot bring a cold drink in the house. So control phase is all about how do we remain consistent. I hope that gives you some idea. In the meanwhile, we have some responses as well here in the chat box. I would request you all to read that, and I'll share here as well. We have a response from Alia. Goal is to make payments via SAP for the consultant services. Measure, I must put time frames for this task. Analyze, considering the last mistake, I must be more attentive to this payment process. Okay, improve. Ask them to send and sign the required documents in time. Very good. And control, before submitting, check if everything is correct. Okay, very interesting. Thank you very much, Alia. Let's see if we have some more responses here. Yes, Gulzina has a response. Personal folders, define what kind of documents to be saved there. I love this example. I'm sure this is going to be very interesting, and this is something which is very important to organize our folders. Okay, so define. You have defined the problem. The measure and analyze phase is missing. Control if we are collecting documents as per the checklist. Okay, measure is there. Measure where we are and what steps are to be done. Analyze what is missing, where to get them. Okay, improve. Check folders continuously and to add necessary documents on time. Okay, very good. Gulzina, request whenever you are using this process, go step by step so that it is easier and structured. So first define the problem, then measure the intensity, then analyze, then improve, and the last step is control part. Okay, let's see if we have more responses here. The principle of no excuses. Okay, Maqsad shared that. All right, anyone else who would like to share their responses here? I'll give you 1 more minute and then we'll go to the next one. All right, I think we have got the responses. Let's go to the next one, please. And keep these saved with you because we will be coming back to this again. All right, so now we are starting to talk about the tools that is going to help us be more critical. So far, we have talked about the mindset. We have talked about some of the frameworks. Now we are going into the tools. So let's see, what do we have here for us? So these are some of the things, if we could have like 4 or 5 answers, please. So we are talking about some frameworks, mindset. So we'll be talking about 6 thinking hats. We'll be using the design thinking, which is a mindset. The last slide, please, sorry. Then we'll be talking about VOC. It is another tool. Include and exclude, that is another tool. Fishbone diagram is another tool. Anti-solution is another tool. And poker yoke is also another tool. So all these tools and frameworks and mindset, we will be talking about them one by one. And now that you have got the foundation of why thinking is important, how thinking, critical thinking is all about asking the right questions, identifying and understanding the steps. Now we are going into the tools part. Now the foundation is set. Now we know the why part. Now we are talking about the what part. So let's go into these tools one by one, starting off with the 6 thinking heads. So let me give you a brief background first. So 6 thinking heads is a concept which is given by Dr. Edward de Bono. He's a fantastic consultant, mind scientist, and he has wrote multiple books. And one of those books is called The 6 Thinking Heads. So what he is doing in that, the idea is that whenever we are thinking, whenever we want to think critically, we have to look at a problem from multiple perspectives. The problem with thinking is that at times we look at a problem from only one perspective. Edward de Bono suggests that we should look at a problem from multiple perspectives. So what are those multiple perspectives? He's talking about 6 perspectives, and to help us remember it easily, he has defined those with the examples of hats. So he says that there are 6 kinds of hats, 6 colored hats that we wear, and it defines, or it leads us towards thinking in a particular manner. So let's see what are these things one by one. Okay, so first enter. The first hat is called the white hat. The first hat that we wear is the white hat as per Edward de Bono. What is a white hat? White hat is all about data and information. So what it's trying to teach us, that whenever we are wearing a white hat, we should only talk about data and information, nothing else. You would be asking, what are some of the other things that we could think about? We'll talk about them one by one. But just to understand it one step at a time, white hat is all about data and information which is available to us right now. So for example, right now, you guys see this presentation. You guys know that we have started at what time we'll be concluding it. You know who's the speaker, you know who's the topic. So this data or this information is black and white. So to define this, he's talking about the white hat, which is about data and information, which is currently available. Let's go to the next hat. And the next hat is the red hat. So whenever we think about red, definitely we think about emotions. So de Bono says that the second hat that we wear is the red hat, and it is all about feelings. It is not about logic, it is about feeling. So let me give you an example. So when we talk about today's session, at what time it started, at what time it will conclude, what is the topic, who is the trainer, which tool are we using, for example, Zoom to connect. All this information is the white hat because this is data. But then we have another hat, which is the red hat, which is about feeling. And here we specifically talk about your feelings. So how are you feeling today? It has nothing to do with the data. We are not talking about data. We are just asking you, how do you feel? So maybe you would say, I am feeling great. Or you would say, I'm not feeling great. I am not enjoying this session. It is boring. I don't know what is it, but I am not connected. My feelings are not 100%. So whenever we are wearing the red hat, we have to talk about feelings without any logical reasoning. This is the critical part. Without any logical reasoning. So for example, I ask you, how is the session going today? Wear the red hat and give me the response. And you could say the session is going great. You could say the session is going pathetic. And I would not ask you for the reason, because we are talking about feelings. Whatever you are feeling, we are not talking about logic here. We are just talking about feelings. Are you enjoying it? Yes or no? If you are enjoying it, you can say yes. If you're not enjoying it, you can say no. And it's all about feelings. So this is the second hat. Very quickly in the chat box, please give me a response in yes or no if you have understood these two hats, the white hat and the red hat. Very quickly, yes or no. Do you understand the difference between white and red hat? We have around 36 people here with us. We have got about 7, 8 answers. Let's hear from you guys. Come on. Are you awake? Are you with us? All right. All right. Thank you. Fantastic. So we have understood the white and the red hat. Okay, let's go to the next hat, which is very important. The yellow hat. Yellow hat is all about thinking positively about a situation. We have talked about feelings in the red hat. Now we are talking about mindset, looking at things from a positive perspective. So whenever, as per Edward de Bono, whenever someone is wearing a yellow hat, they should always look at a thing, a problem with a positive mindset. So for example, just to give you an example, I ask you, wear your white hat and tell me how is this session going. Now you will be giving information based on data information. Then I'll say, okay, take off the white hat. Now wear the red hat and give me or share your thoughts. How is this session going? Now you do not have to give me any logic, any reason. You just need to share if you are enjoying it or not. Then I'll ask you to wear the yellow hat. And when you wear a yellow hat, you have to think positively only. So for example, let me give you an example. I ask you, okay, so wear your white hat and tell me how's the session going. You say that the session is not going well. We are far behind our schedule. We started 15 minutes late. So we are talking about data and information. I say, okay, thank you very much. Now wear your red hat and tell me how is the session going. Now you will not talk about data. Now you will not talk about information. You will only talk about your feeling. So if you are enjoying the session for whatever reason, we are not talking about the reason or the logic. If you're enjoying it, you will say, okay, wearing the red hat, I am enjoying it. Or you could say, wearing the red hat, I am not enjoying at all. Again, we are not asking you for the reason. Next, I will say, for example, ask you, okay, now take off the red hat, wear the yellow hat. So when you wear the yellow hat, you only have to talk about the positive. So for example, you are the person, when you were wearing the red hat, you said, I am not enjoying it. Fair enough. But when you are wearing the yellow hat, you have to respond only positively. So even if you are not enjoying the session, when you are wearing the yellow hat, you have to look at it from a positive perspective. You have to think, okay, so I'm not enjoying it, but is there anything which is good? There must be something which is good in today's session. Let me think. Well, the speaker is not good. Okay, we have already talked about that. The content is not good. Okay, we have talked about. What could be one positive thing? Oh yeah, the glasses that the speaker is wearing, they are nice. Okay, good enough. Well, I like the colors used in the presentation. Okay, that's nice. So anything which is positive, even in the extreme situations, you have to think of something positive. You are traveling on a road, you are going for a meeting, your car broke down, your tire flattened. If I ask you to wear the yellow hat, you have to look at that problem as well with a positive mindset. Are we good with this? Yes or no in the chat box very quickly. Are you clear what does wearing a yellow hat means? In the chat box very quickly. If there is any confusion, please do ask. All right, all right. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the next hat now, the fifth hat. If you could enter, please, Shireen.
It's there on the screen, the black one.
Okay, I'm sorry, my bad. So the next hat is the black hat. The black hat is all about taking caution. So now we are differentiating between each hat. So whenever we are wearing the black hat, we are becoming a stern judge. We are looking at things from a perspective of caution. So now, for example, if I ask you to again share your feedback about the session wearing a black hat, you will only talk about the potential problems. You need to think critically. You need to be judgmental. And unfortunately, a lot of times we wear black hat a lot. So for example, you are having a meeting, you are talking about a new process to be implemented in UCA. And people ask you for your feedback. And it is human nature that most of the times we start with the negative. We start with what could go wrong. So we generally wear black hat a lot. Black hat is all about thinking about potential problems. So for example, we are running this session with you. We have planned this session, Shireen and I, and we are having this discussion before we start the session, just giving you an example. And we say, okay, Shireen, we are planning this workshop for University of Central Asia. Let's wear the white hat first. Okay, so what would be the duration of each session? What content we'll be covering? What kind of tools we will be using? So we agree on those things. Now we are wearing the white hat. Okay, Shireen, let's take off the white hat. Let's wear the red hat. Okay, how can we make sure that participants enjoy this? What are your feelings? What are my feelings? Why am I doing it? Why are you doing it? Are you feeling excited about it? Am I feeling excited about it? We are not talking about logic. We are just talking about feelings. Okay, we are done with session 1. How do you feel, Shireen? How do I feel? Shireen, I didn't enjoy it. Shireen, I had a great time. Shireen would say, okay, I did not enjoy it. Maybe Shireen would say, I had a great time. All right, Shireen, let's take off the red hat and talk about the yellow hat. So for example, the first session went very bad. Shireen and I agreed that it didn't go very well. Now we'd say, okay, Shireen, I do know we both agree that it didn't go well, but let's wear the yellow hat. Was there anything that was positive? Let's think about it. Yeah, there were some positive things. We were expecting, say, for example, 3 participants. We had 7 participants. Okay, the silver lining. All right. Now, Shireen, let's take off the yellow hat and wear the black hat. Black hat is about caution. Okay, what we need to be careful about? What are some of the things that could go wrong? Okay, Shireen, there could be multiple things that could go wrong. I am in Gilgit. The internet connectivity could disappear at any time. The electricity could go at any time. Okay, so these are the challenges that we need to be ready for. Okay, Shireen, what do you think? What are some of the things that could go wrong? Okay, maybe participants do not enjoy it. Maybe participants are unable to connect with you because we are doing it virtually. We are not doing it physically. Maybe participants would feel that we would like to have something which is more physical, where we could interact, where we could work on paper, where we could discuss live with each other. So all these points, we are wearing the black hat and discussing this. So are we clear with the black hat? Again in the chat box, yes or no? Does it make sense? Yes or no? And do you see the difference between each hat very clearly? Yes or no, please? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next hat now, which is the green hat. Green hat is all about creative thinking. It's all about thinking new ideas. It's wearing the creative hat. So again, in continuation of the last example that I shared with you, Shirin and I are having that discussion. We wore the white hat, then the red one, then the yellow one, then the black one. Now we are talking about the green one, which is thinking creatively. Okay, Shirin, so we have understood that while we were wearing the black hat, we were worried about a few things. So what can we do about it? Okay, let's talk about it. What are some of the things that we can do? Let's think creatively and come up with some creative solutions. Okay, so Sahib, you said that you are living in Gilgit and there is a probability that you may lose internet. Okay, what can we do about it? Well, what we can do is that even if the internet breaks down, I have GPRS or 3G internet on my mobile. It is not going to be so fast. I may not be able to come live on the video, but I can talk on audio. All right, so worst case scenario, we can manage that. Okay, let's talk about some of the other things. Okay, what if electricity goes? All right, if electricity is out, maybe I can, maybe if there is dark in the room and if there are clouds outside, we do not have that kind of lighting system available, then maybe I could turn off my camera and interact with the people. All right. We are not doing it physically. We are doing it virtually. That is going to create some problems. Okay, what can we do about it? Well, what we can do is we can ask participants to be very active on the chat box. Okay, that is one solution. What else can we do? Well, what we can do is we can ask participants after every tool or activity that we have shared with the participants, we can ask them to use it then and there. And at the same time, we can ask them to do some activities after the session so that we make sure that they have understood the concept. Okay, great. So see, we have identified the problems while we were wearing the black hat. Now wearing the green hat, we have talked about solution. Are we clear with the green hat? Again, in the chat box, yes or no. If you need any more clarity, you can ask and we'll talk more about this hat. Are you clear? What are we doing in the green hat? Yes or no, please. Please do remember, ladies and gentlemen, that you can see my face, you can see my expressions, but I am unable to see your expressions. So the only way for me to find out if you are with us, if you are active, if you are understanding, is through the chat box. So please do use the chat box. Show your emotions as well. You can use emojis as well on the chat box. All right, so we have a lot of yeses. Great, which means we can go for the last hat, and the last hat is the blue hat. Now the blue hat is all about process control. It's all about, it is similar to the control phase of demand. And those of you who have done project management, you understand the importance of controls. You know the importance of process. Until and unless there is a process, nothing is going to work. So blue hat is all about processes. So again, to connect the dots with the last example, Shirin and I are having that discussion. We talked about the white hat, what is going to be the data, what would be the timings, what would be the tools. Red hat, how are you feeling about it? How am I feeling about it? After session, please ask participants, how are they feeling about it? Okay, yellow hat. Let's look at the things from the positive perspective. Something must have gone right during the session. let's talk about the black hat. What could be potentially challenges that we may face during this session? Okay, now let's talk about the green hat. What are some of the creative ways that we could use to make sure that, you know, these potential hindrances don't stop us from achieving our goal? Okay, now let's talk about the blue hat. Shireen, let's wear the blue hat and pen down everything in a structured manner. Okay, Shireen, so let me share with you the content that I will be running, the activities that I'll be running, what will we cover in the first session, what will we cover in the second session, what will be covered in the third session, what are going to be the assignments in the first one, second one, third one, how many participants are we expecting, what will be the flow of the presentation, will the presentation be run by yourself or I'll be running it from my end? If participants have any questions, can they contact me? Can they contact you? Would the presentation, once, because we are recording it, would this be available for participants? Yes or no? If it is going to be available, who is going to make sure that it is available? Where will we put this presentation? So all of these nitty-gritties, we have structured them, clubbed them together in a document. This is the blue hat. So we have covered all the 6 hats. One last time, any questions, any concerns? Are you clear? What is the difference between each hat? Okay, so we have the question, who is the author? Edward de Bono, Dr. Edward de Bono. I'll write in the chat box as well. If you Google Edward de Bono, you would know who am I talking about. All right, so very quickly in the chat box, yes or no, have you understood it? Do you know the difference between all of these heads? Are you guys with us? Because I am not seeing anything in the chat box. Yes or no, please. Okay, so we have a question, which hat you mostly use in your life? Okay, that is a very interesting question. And I'm glad you asked this question. Asan Beg, the idea is that we do not wear just one hat while thinking critically. If we want to develop critical thinking in our life, we need to wear all of these hats one by one. Why is that so? Because we want to look at a problem or a statement or an idea from multiple perspectives. If we only wear red hat, for example, all the time, it will create trouble for us because we will be only doing things based on our feelings. If we always wear yellow hat, again, that is also going to be a problem. You cannot look at every problem and think about only the positive. Similarly, you cannot always wear a black hat. If you always wear black hat, you will always be worried about what could go wrong, and eventually you will not be able to achieve anything in your life. You cannot always wear green hat. You cannot always be creative. Not everything in the world always requires creative thinking. A very famous quotation, we say a lot of times that, think out of the box, think out of the box. Maybe we need to ask ourselves that if the solution is in the box, probably we do not need to go or think out of the box. So wearing the blue hat or green hat all the time is not productive as well. Similarly, wearing the blue hat all the time, always talking about process, without thinking about other things is going to create problem. So the idea is that we identify, we understood that there are 6 hats, and we have to wear all of them whenever we are having a discussion. To think critically, we need to wear all of these hats one by one during our discussion, so that the conclusion, the outcome that we are talking about is holistic. I hope that answers your question. Nazgul says that he wrote about these almost 20 years back. Absolutely right, Nazgul, but it is still relevant. It is still useful, and it is still a very powerful tool to help us think critically. All right. And Rashid has very, very smartly answered that it depends on circumstances. Absolutely right. Based on a situation, you will wear a particular hat. But a good idea any day is to make sure that you wear all of those hats and think about all of those things whenever you are thinking critically about a solution. All right. Okay. Okay. Perfect. I think we do not have any more questions. Okay. Okay. Firoza has a very good question, and it says that what if one of these takes control? For example, emotions. Very good question. Thank you very much for asking this question. It shows that you are awake. It shows that you are thinking, and I love this question. You are absolutely right. We need to understand that all of these hats are important. We can never say that one hat is more important than the other one. So first thing first, all the hats are important. And at the same time, overusing any of those hats, be it white, red, yellow, black, green, or blue, is going to create trouble. So as you have said, if I am a person who is always driven by emotions, I always wear red hat, then it is going to be a problem for me. Because then I'm not looking at things logically. I am always looking at things emotionally, which is not good. On the contrary, the exact opposite, if I am someone who never wears a red hat and always wears a blue hat, then I'll be robotic. I will not think about emotions. And that is again going to create problem. Let me give you an example. So for example, I am someone who always wears a blue hat, and I'm running this presentation with you. We have talked about, we have structured everything, and now we are going by the book. Okay, so it is 11:13. We should be on slide number 7. Okay, we are on slide number 6. Let's go to slide number 7. Without realizing, without looking at the other heads, have participants understood the process? Yes or no? Do they have clarity? Yes or no? How are they feeling? Are they feeling bored? Are they feeling excited? Because at the end of the day, even if I have the best content in the world, but if you are not engaged, if you are not connected, if I am unable to connect with your heart, with your emotions, this session is going to be a failure. So I cannot take out emotions out of this equation. This is not going to work because we are talking about humans. We are not talking about machines. I'm not running this presentation for a machine. I'm running this presentation for humans, and humans have emotions. Let me give you another example. Understanding the importance of emotions. So for example, I'm running this presentation, and throughout the session, this is how I'm running this session. Let me give you an example. All right. So we are talking about this one. So there are 6 kind of hats. The white hat is talking about this red hat. Have you understood it? Okay. Any questions? Now, if I go in this particular tone, the content is same. The idea is same. The 6 thinking hats are same. But because of my my body language, my tone, your emotions are affected. You might feel sleepy in 10 minutes. See? What does this mean? This means that as a presenter, I need to wear the red hat as well. I need to make sure that if I am able to connect emotionally with you, yes or no, then I have to think at the positive side as well. I have to look at things from the positive perspective. If I'm always wearing a black hat and I'm always thinking about what could go wrong in this session, what could go wrong in this session, then I'm not mentally, emotionally with you in this conversation. I am continuously worried about, oh my God, what if internet breaks down? What if electricity is gone? Oh my God. Then you will see it on my face and I would not be able to deliver the things the way I want it to be delivered. So I hope that answers your question. Every single hat is important. Over wearing any of these hats is going to create trouble. All right, are we all good? One last time, yes or no? In the chat box, please. Are we good so far? We have around 33 people with us. I would like to hear from you. Yes, no, come on, in the chat box, please. All right, perfect. Your yeses mean that you have understood it. Okay, let's go to the next slide and put this learning into action. Now, this is what I would request you to do. We are talking about critical thinking. One more enter, please, Shireen. So we are talking about these hats. We have already talked about it. I would like to know from you, what kind of questions do we need to ask while wearing each of these caps? So remember, critical thinking is all about asking questions. You have understood all of these hats. I would like you to take 15 minutes and those of you who are near each other or who are in contact with each other through phone or through WhatsApp, it would be a good idea that you can club together, make a call on WhatsApp and discuss with each other if possible. If not possible, do it individually. Take 15 minutes, think of those 6 hats and identify what kind of questions you can ask. Let me give you an example. Okay. So while wearing white hat, what kind of questions you would ask to find about data? Let me give you the example of this particular session. So the questions, the kind of questions that I will ask Shireen are following. Shireen, how many participants are we talking about? What kind of experiences and education do they have? How much time can they take out easily? Okay, white hat is done. 3 questions. Let's talk about the red hat. What kind of questions I could ask to get to know about the feelings? So maybe I could ask, Shireen, the first session is over. Could you please ask a few participants, how did they feel? Did they enjoy? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did they enjoy this particular session? Okay, red hat is done. Let's wear the black hat. Okay, black hat is all about potential problems. Okay, So Shireen, what could be some of the things that could go wrong? Shireen, what would we do if the internet connection breaks down? Shireen, do you think participants would be able to be active while their cameras are off and their mics are off? Can we do anything about it? Then we wear the yellow hat. Okay, Shireen, what did go well? We had a discussion that session 1 didn't go well. Just giving you an example. I'm not saying it did go well. By the way, we got great responses from those of you of the first session. But I'm just giving you an example that in case, for example, the first session didn't go well. So in yellow hat, what kind of questions we'll be asking? Okay, Shireen, there must be something that went well. Yeah, we started on time. We concluded on time. All right, there was no internet connectivity issue. Okay, so these are the questions. Then the blue hat, then the green hat. So I'm sure you understand what needs to be done. So I would request you to take 15 minutes break. Your mics are already off, your cameras are already off. I'm going to turn off my camera and my mic. However, I am here available for any questions that you have in the chat box. Ideally, if there are people in this session who and you could have a discussion with them, I would highly recommend that you take a break, 15 minutes, call that person and have these discussions. So for example, Shireen and I are connected. So what I can do is during this 15 minutes break, I'll call Shireen and discuss about these questions that we could ask for each hand, because 2 brains are better than 1. 3 brains are better than 2. So in worst case scenario, if you do not know anyone else who is attending this, who is present in this session, then you have to do it on your own. But if you know people who have joined in this session, then I would strongly recommend you to give them a call and discuss these questions with them. So I will see you in 15 minutes. And I would want all of you to share the kind of questions for each hand. Are we clear what we need to do? Are we clear on the instructions? Yes or no, please, in the chat box. I've just got 1 response so far. We have around 33 people connected with us. Come on, guys. The only way I know you are not sleeping and attending this session is through the chat box. Are we clear what needs to be done? Yes or no? Last 10 seconds, please, and then we'll start this activity. All right, perfect. So 15 minutes starts now. Please start discussing these things with your colleagues. And if no one is around, do it yourself. After 15 minutes, we will hear from you as the kind of questions that you have identified for each of these heads. So 15 minutes, your time starts now, please.
Hello, everyone. So while we are giving you this time to answer the question that Sahib had posed about asking or thinking about some questions for each hat, it would be great if you when you come back, you have specific examples to share online with us, what questions you thought of. And if you had a chance to talk to somebody else, even better. As you can see, Sahib is teaching us a tool, giving us an insight, but then also giving us time to implement. And with anything about critical thinking, it's important that we're not just collecting these tools or these insights in our toolbox, but implementing them right away as well. That's going to allow for, like we talked about last time, developing new synapses, right? So we highly encourage you to do it collaboratively if possible, otherwise do it on your own, and be prepared to share when we come back with Sahib. Thank you.
All right. So let's hear from you. Let's do it one by one. So let's hear the questions from you in the chat box. First, about the white hat. What are some of the questions that we could ask during wearing the white hat? So let's hear the questions from you in the chat box, please. Only for white hat. Yes, questions about facts. What kind of questions? Please share the examples. As I shared example, please do share the example from your work. What kind of questions you could ask while wearing the white hat? In the chat box, please. Okay, how many students are going to attend financial aid sessions? Very good. What is the deadline? Very good. How much longer will the lecture go on? Okay, very good. Daler, I hope you are not literally asking about when will this session end. If you are wondering, we are left with 15 minutes only. Okay, what do I know now? What information? Just one second. Okay, what do I know now? What information is available? Okay, very good, Marfat. Ulan says, where is the nearest planet with life on it? Very interesting. Very interesting. I like it. I like it. Good one, Ulan. Okay. Are we all done with the white hat? Okay, let's go to the next hat, red hat. What are some of the questions that we could ask while wearing the red hat? Okay, let's hear from you. Red hat, please, in the chat box. Okay, we have one more response from on white hat from Rashid. What is the objective of attending this session? What questions need asking? Okay, very good, very good. And we have got two responses on the red hat as well. Do I enjoy it? Jamila says, okay, that's a good question. Daler says, how interesting is the lecture? Well, I find interesting points from it. Okay, very good. Jamila says, is it hard or easy for me? Well, Jamila, is it hard or easy for me as far as the feeling is concerned? If you are asking from the perspective of feeling, then probably this is the right question. But if you are asking it objectively, then probably this will come in some other hat and not the red hat. Okay, Maqsad says, what we should offer in order to be sure that the attendants are not bored, upset, etc. Okay, very good, Maqsad. Red hat, absolutely. Another response is, do we feel curious about the possibility of existence of life on exoplanet? Okay, Ulan, I am absolutely fascinated by this topic, just like you are. And yes, I can see that you are connecting the dots, and that is great. That is exactly the idea. Whatever topic is close to your heart, think of questions that are related to that particular topic. And that is exactly what Ulan is doing, and that's the great way to enhance or improve your critical thinking. Okay, so Rashid says on red hat, what do I think about this session? Okay, what is my initial reaction? What is my gut feeling? Absolutely right, Rashid. The word that you have used, gut feeling, it is absolutely right. Here we are talking about feelings. We are not talking about logic. We are not talking about reasoning. We are not giving any reason why I am feeling the way I am feeling. It is a gut feeling. It is the vibe that I'm getting from someone. Am I getting positive vibes? Am I getting negative vibes? So absolutely right, Rashid. Okay, Marifat says, is the issue under discussion sensitive? Is the issue under discussion sensitive? Well, the question is right, but probably it would not fit with the redhead, because when we talk about sensitivity, it might be dependent upon what we are talking about. So for example, if we are talking about IT security, then it would be entirely a different thing. If we are talking about, say, for example, values, it would be entirely different thing. So in the redhead, let's only focus on the emotions, nothing else, emotions. Okay. Gurlu says, what my intuition tells me. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. That gut feeling, that intuition is going to, it will be shared when you are wearing the red hat. Okay. Feroza says, are these emotions required right now? I think yeah, that could be a good question. Are they destroying or helpful? Let me just think. You have brought a very different and interesting perspective, so let me just think about it. Well, when we say, are these emotions required now, right now, we are talking about logic. You see? So, Firoza, as I said earlier, when we are wearing the red hat, we are not talking about logic. We are just talking about feeling. And why this is important? Because at times, we also need to think about the emotions. The content may be relevant, the timings may be great, the tools may be great, but still, if the person is emotionally not connected, not there, everything else falls apart. So when we are wearing the red hat, we are only talking about emotions. We are not talking about logic. So when we say, are emotions required right now, we are giving a logical argument that is not allowed when we are wearing the red hat. Red hat is all about emotions. What can you do for your child? You do not talk about logic when you are talking about your child. So for example, what can you do to save your child in a difficult situation? You will not talk about logic. You will talk about pure emotions. And that is what is required when we are wearing the red hat. Okay, very quickly, let's go to the black hat. What are some of the questions that we should ask while wearing the black hat? Very quickly in the chat box, please. We have just 9 minutes left and we need to cover all of these heads. You guys are doing a fantastic job so far. Let's hear the black hat. Come on, very quickly. Okay, so we have got a few responses. Gulru says, what do you need to pay attention to? All right. The layer says, if the lecture goes on for a long time from now, would I be able to manage to do my personal errands during the lunchtime? The layer, very good, very good. I like it. Okay, Marfat says, what if someone, what if something goes wrong or may not work? Perfect, very good, Marfat. Correct question. Jamila says, are fears or predictions? Okay, okay. Ulan says, are we ready to face uh, the threat of hostile aliens upon discovering of life on another planet? I simply love it, Ulan. I simply love it. You are absolutely thinking in the right direction. That's how we connected. Very good. I like this question. Okay. Maqsad says, how bad might the internet works during the session? What can be done to assure no problem causes? Okay, the first part is correct, Maqsad. We are talking about the problem. But the second part would come in the green hat. When we are wearing the black hat, we are only talking or asking questions about potential problems. We are not talking about their solutions. We will talk about solutions when we wear the green hat, for example. But the first part is absolutely correct. Okay, Rashid says black hat. What may be the risk factors? Very good. What may be the failure scenarios? Absolutely right. Very good, Rashid. These are the kind of questions that we ask while wearing the black hat. Very quickly, let's go to the yellow hat. What kind of questions can we ask while wearing the yellow hat? Let's hear from you in the chat box. Very quickly, please. All right, so yellow hat is all about why something may work. What are the values? What are the benefits? What could go right? Thinking about positive things only. So for example, the layer shared a very good example. I would rather stay till the end of the presentation session and try to gain more useful information. Absolutely right. So even if things are not going well, you are looking at the bright side. You are looking at the positive side. Even if there was an internet breakdown, you think about what went right. You thought about the benefit that you got out of that particular experience. Do we have any more responses on the yellow hat, please? Or otherwise, we'll go to the blue hat. Okay. So Ulan is back with, should we welcome celestial and ascendants from other planets to accept the divinity they will offer? Let me think. I think Ulan, the question should be something which talks about what will be the benefit if we find aliens. What are the benefits? So for example, we could ask question like, what kind of benefits would human race get from alien civilization? That could be a good question. Okay, Rashid says, yellowhead, envisage the real danger. Okay, envisage the real danger. What are the real dangers? Again, Rashid, yellowhead is not about problems. Yellowhead is not about solutions. Yellowhead is about looking things positively. So we are not talking about the dangers. We are talking about the benefits, envisaging the benefits that would come, not talking about the dangers. Envisaging the dangers would would come in the black hat. Yellow hat is all about positive. What could go right? What kind of benefits we could get from it? Okay, Gulru says, what are the positive aspects of this training? Absolutely right, Gulru, that is the right way. Even if everything else is going bad, what are some of the things that could be positive? Okay, Marfat says, what are the advantages? Absolutely right, very good. Ulan says, what technological marvels the humanity will gain from welcoming aliens on our planet? Absolutely right. That's the right question as far as yellow hat is concerned. Okay, very good, very good. Very quickly, let's go to the blue hat, which talks about processes, next steps, action planning. Very quickly, we have around 2-3 minutes left. So very quickly, let's hear from you. What kind of questions can we ask when we are wearing the blue hat? Okay, the layer says, once the lecture ends, should I look up Edward de Bono's book on 6 thinking hats and go through each point to study how I look at things from different perspective? Absolutely right. Great. That is a great question. Okay, Gulru says, what's on the agenda of this training? Okay, very good. Agenda, the question is right, but it would probably fit in the white hat. In the blue hat, we talk about managing the process, the next steps, and the action plan. For example, you may say, what needs to be done after this session? What is the second assignment for this particular session? Something like that. Okay, very quickly, last but not the least, green hat. Let's talk about the green hat. What kind of questions do we get in the green hat? And Marfat says, as far as the blue hat is concerned, how can I apply the 6 thinking hats tools in my classes? Perfect. That is great. That is the right question as far as blue hat is concerned. Okay, let's see the green hat, last hat, please, very quickly. Green hat talks about solutions. It talks about creativity. It talks about new ideas. It talks about alternatives. So what kind of question should we ask while wearing the green hat? Okay, Gulru says, what are the possible alternatives? Maqsad says, what can be done to make this session more attractive? Okay, very good. Very good. Daler says, what other useful books on creative thinking would you also recommend? Let's say from your own personal life experience. How about organizing a face-to-face presentation session as such in the future? Okay, okay. I'm sure, Dilair, these are not your questions you're asking from me. These are the examples of the green hat that you are sharing, I believe. Though it resonates with the other far as well. Okay, Rashid says, blue hat. What is the decision? What is the decision we are after? Okay. What kind of process will be used to work for each hat? Okay. How will we move on to the next upgradation session? Okay, very good. Very good. Ulan says, how can we understand each other once we encounter the intelligent life form on another planet? Okay, very good, very good. Interesting, interesting. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It was great interacting with you guys all today. Before I conclude, I would just request you to do one more assignment. We have talked about these 6 thinking hats. The exercise that we did right now, I would request you to go back in your departments, speak to 2-3 people who may or may not have attended this session, explain it to them what are these 6 heads. And next time when we come, bring more questions for each particular head. And you see, the benefit would be, as the saying goes, the best way to learn is to teach. The best way to learn is to teach. So if you want to learn, the best way is to teach. So share these learnings with others in your departments. And next time when we meet, I would request, and I look forward to more questions from all of you. With this, thank you very much once again for investing your time in learning. And I hope that as you are moving forward in your day, there was something new that you learned from this session. So thank you very much. Shireen, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sahib, for yet another wonderful and insightful presentation. And I think this tool and the time that we spent together is very useful. But I guess, like you said, the proof is in the pudding, right? So if we don't go ahead and implement it in our personal and professional lives, then it's just going to stay in our toolbox. So, you know, sometimes we get conditioned to think about a problem a certain way based on our temperament, our personality. We might be focusing on one of these perspectives more in our life than the other. So I think it's a great way to kind of analyze. And I think last time we ended with, you know, one good way of analyzing our thought patterns using the SWOT analysis. This is another great way of, you know, going back and analyzing what perspective am I usually thinking with, and can I perhaps use some other perspectives simultaneously and focus on those as well to creatively and critically problem solve. So I think these were some really good nuggets. And the recording of today's session will be shared just like last time. It will be on our UCA YouTube channel, so stay tuned for that as well. The next session, which will be the last of the 3-part series, will be on 26th of April, same time. So we look forward to hearing from Sahib again and to see all of you attend that session as well. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Sahib, for all your time and knowledge, and we look forward to seeing you next week.